So yesterday I took part in a training seminar, and in that training seminar, the coach or the facilitator did this exercise that required everybody to be a little vulnerable. They had to like write a poem, and then we all had to share it with each other. And I kind of had this eye roll moment, like whatever. But the point was that vulnerability or being willing to be vulnerable really has a way to build trust with other people, but also it has a way to create connection with not only others, but within yourself. And more importantly, it really gets us out of a mindset that may not be good for us. Oftentimes in my life, I've tried to fake it in order to make it. But as I thinking about it, I'm thinking that being vulnerable is really a core skill set on an interpersonal basis. Sharing your dreams, your fears, your feelings, your concerns is a detour from what the normal professional dialogue is. And how often do you have that moment where you can connect with somebody on that level? I think openness, being open, is a liberating thing. We're no longer faking or hiding who we are, but rather building a foundation of trust, empathy with others. I think the seminar I was in yesterday transformed from just something you were casually listening to something immediately impactful to everybody on the call, which I think was great. It's really hard to dive into emotional depths, but when you do, you create a bond. I remember one particular person in a training that I did years ago. A woman shared something very vulnerable to the entire group, and I was like shocked. I was like, "What? What are you doing? You don't do this." But what happened was she engendered this feeling of camaraderie with everybody. And everybody that came up thereafter and gave their little spiel uh, were also equally vulnerable. And people started realizing that they had things in common. And it really built the strength of the team. So I think this is one of the comfort zones that's really hard for us to step out of. I don't want people to know my weaknesses. I don't want them to know my struggles. But I think it's important to do so. It's important to get rid of these fears of inadequacy, fears of vulnerability, because the only real way we can get into a growth mindset is to face this kind of discomfort of being more vulnerable. So the topic for today is embracing vulnerability. I think it's something that we should consider doing frequently and often, especially with people that we want to build a relationship with. You never know when that next time you're vulnerable with somebody will build a relationship that really strengthens a bond between you and what you're doing. So consider that as a strategy. I've tried the other way, which is to always act awesome around everybody. I've tried that. And 50 years has proven to me that that's not the best way. The best way is to be honest and upfront and vulnerable. That's the best way, honestly, to build a good relationship with others.